So hi everyone, welcome to another look at the bot and trading with Crypto Womble. I had some feedback from the last video. I know it's been about 10 days since the last one, sorry about that. But one of the main things coming out of that was looking at some of the new bot features and then possibly looking at doing a strategy based upon that. So I thought today we'd start by looking at some of the features in a little bit more detail than we've done before. Some really good ones, some new indicators and a new reserve feature that's coming. But I also want to look at some of the settings in the first panels of the strategy. So let's have a quick look. I'll bring up my Paperbot. I'll try and bring up my Paperbot. There you go. Okay, so this is where I am in some of the testing we're doing for the VIP trading group. So we're trying to test these strategies, make sure that they work, make sure that anything we do give out does work, doesn't crash and burn. Obviously that's been really difficult in the last couple of weeks, particularly difficult in the last week with Bitcoin crashing to the floor. But we're up 20% as I record this, so who knows. So there's not a lot on the dashboard really that you should be unfamiliar with if you use the bot. I think I touched on it last time that we do support US Binance and Binance now, so you can actually swap, although the coin selection on the US Binance is pretty limited. But other than that, it's still got, the amount invested, your asset value, totals, what you've made in sales returns, not necessarily ROI, of course, how many positions you've closed, how many were in profit, and what your highest profit was. Yeah, my BTC testing wasn't going as well, so that's actually not processing at the moment. I've shut that down. But this was the result of the push up today, which was quite nice. This is using a Vulcan standard approach, which is one of the candidates for release for VIP trading. So it only works in an uptrend though. Whether uptrend is on an hourly candle or a daily candle, doesn't really matter, but it only works in uptrend. It will shut down in a downtrend, which is why there's nothing here. Going on to the config screen, let's scroll it up a little bit. Quick look at the other tab, just to show that Binance.com. I think I've shown that before, but you can swap it over to Binance.us. This is version 09.4.24. I think last time I showed 23 or 22. Hopefully this will be coming out for everyone as we go forward. Back to general, where you can see, and we're going to ignore Bitcoin for a moment, let's talk about USD. So we have a strategy called VIP2 HMI, which is strangely an HMI based strategy for VIP, and we'll have a look at that in a bit more detail. We're running it on daily candles, and at the moment I'm only trading Bitcoin USD on it just to test something out. So we'll have a look at that. And then one of the new features coming out is an alteration to the way you can reserve funds. One of the things, and let's go back to the dashboard really, one of the things I personally don't like doing is automatic compounding. So at the moment, I started off with $5,000. Let's get rid of Bitcoin because that's really distracting. So I started off with 5,000. I've traded 264. I've now got 5,387 virtual dollars because it's paper. But really, I don't want to trade with that extra 387. What I want the bot to do is to go, well, that's profit. Put that aside and keep trading with the 5,000. Don't increase my positional value based on this number. Just keep it to that number there. And that setting here, which is a new one called All Accept, will allow you to say, well, I only want to trade with this much. I don't want you to trade with any more coins, any more value than what I set there. So that will stop compounding, and on daily scalping, that's probably a good thing. And it will allow us to put those savings away every day and take our profits that way if we so choose. It's not mandatory, but I quite like that. I do like that. The triggers, at the moment, we've got scheduler-based triggers in, so you can create a trigger that runs at a certain time on a certain day, certain time zone, of course. So you could say, for example, at midnight every day, I want to do something. And one of those things might be, for example, dump my positions. So I can say every day at midnight. Do I want to keep any coins? No. Do I want to sell? I want to only sell positions in profit. No, just dump it all. And then every day at midnight, sorry, the bot will then sell all your positions. It does restart the bot when it does that. And again, if you want to do daily trading, that's quite handy. So that's one way of doing it. We're trying to work really, really hard on triggers. One of the triggers I didn't show was change strategy, and that's the one I'm really, really interested in, because when the market goes in downturn or the market goes in upturn, you really want to change your strategy. I've said many, many times I don't believe in this golden strategy, but I do believe you can tailor strategies for different market conditions, and that would be really useful. They're working really hard on that. That's a lot of work to finish that, and I'm hoping that we'll get that pretty soon. So that's kind of what's been going on in the config screen. Strategies, this is the Vulcan Standard Bitcoin 1-day USD strategy. And I really want to talk about this and the difference between market and limit orders, and touch on some of the new indicator settings. So which is easiest first? Maybe do the indicator settings, then we'll come back to that because that's quite involved. So if you look at your bot version, some of these would be familiar. We also got oscillator, BB bands, or B bands, can't call them BB bands, can you really? Scrolling down, we've got the bandwidth parameter. This is really useful. Why would you use this? Well, basically when the bands are narrow and the price is bouncing from the top to the bottom, I hate trading in that. Let's see if we got an example here really. Maybe this is the wrong candle size to do that on. Actually, let's go to an hour. Hang on, you'll get there. It's not really a good example, but maybe here-ish. It's probably not the best example in the world, but because there's very little movement, you don't really want to try and buy and sell, especially if you're scalping to try and get 0.5%, because it's just never going to make it. And it aligns with the BBW technical indicator on Binance. Oops. So yeah, so you can say, well, if it's below this sort of level, then don't trade, because it's just like noise. Wait until the bands open up, and then there's a chance then, of course, of making a bit more profit because there's more space, and we can go forward. Again, you can use it as a confirmation that the price is probably going up, maybe, but it's there. You can use it, and I like it actually. I'm not using it in this Vulcan strategy, but it is there. The other two I touched on the other day was sea change or candle color percentage. So this is quite interesting. So you can say, have a look at the current candle. If it's gone up by a certain percentage or gone down by a certain percentage, then take some action. And you can use that in combination with the candle color, sea color option, which allows us, and I do use this one in Vulcan, it says actually enable that. Buy signal is green, buy signal enabled. So this will only buy, Vulcan, this strat, will only buy when the candle is green. I'm not necessarily saying that that's the best strategy in the world, but that's what it's currently set at for testing purposes. So you can combine both. You can say, well, only buy if it's a green candle and it's gone up by 1%, say. That's useful because there's a battle in the candle, as we all know, which the candle will flick from red to green, red to green, red to green quite a lot, especially on shorter candles, and especially when that candle is brand new. So you can actually make a judgment call of when to go into that trade based on just those two indicators. Okay, so that's the three that's come in really recently. So let's go back over here. So I'll just say this is a Vulcan daily strat. It has 3 buy indicators. One of them I've shown you, which is the candle color, and it uses 2 others, which of course I'm not going to tell you what they are. But if this one does come out as the VIP, you'll be able to see what those are for yourself. It's actually quite simple. The Vulcan strategy is, let's just keep it simple, keep it straightforward, and then, you know, it's KISS, isn't it? Keep it simple, stupid is the approach, basically. We've got one sell signal, and that's our get the hell out of it, drop the position, sell, and that's when we feel that the market conditions are turning against us. and we will sell everything. Remember, this is only buying and selling Bitcoin to USD. So if that signal fires, it will dump everything. And then there's an after loss cooldown, which we'll talk about in a second, and that will then shut the bot down for a period of time. And hopefully then on our next rescan, we can make an informed decision about whether we're actually going to buy or not. Okay, so I don't use shorts. I hate shorts, not going to talk about them. In this particular one, we are buying 5% of our total assets per position, which on $5,000 is about $250, something like that. And we're actually scalping on this one, and we're scalping at 0.5% take profit. And the idea is we fire loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of those through the day, make our profit, and then if there are any bags, we can dump them on the sell signal, or we can use a trigger to say, well, look, at the end of the day, just sell everything. Just get out, get out, get out. Okay, only scan final candles. Oh, how can one indicator cause so much confusion, basically? Okay, so this is really, really simple. Only scan final candles means that you will only ever scan the final candle, and all of the rest of this is pretty pointless. So you scan cooldown, that one, start with partials, and that's not useless. So it's really scan cooldown and always scan. If you got only scan, those two are pretty much irrelevant. And what will basically happen, let's go back to the exchange. Let's make that a bit bigger. Let's get rid of Bollinger Bandwidth. Here we go. I'll scroll in here a bit. Scroll over. Ooh, it's coming down again. What will basically happen is at the end of any candle, so let's take something like this one. As that candle closes and this one opens, the bot will then apply the TA because you're only ever scanning final candles. So if you said something like my strat where it says only buy when green, well, it wouldn't buy because the previous candle was red. But it will check all the TA at the point in time when this candle effectively closes, or you could say that this candle potentially opens. So is that moved up? Yes, it has. Is that a green candle? No. Well, I won't buy. It would buy on the next candle because the previous one was green, and the, what is that? That's MA, so and the MA is still heading up. That's kind of how the final candle scans work. So some advantages. One, the TA will fluctuate and change a lot during the candle length or candle life. By that setting, you're kind of fixing it. So you kind of go, well, always look back one candle and make my buy decision or my sell decision based on that previous candle. It gives some kind of consistency. I don't use it though, as you can see. If you don't use only scan final candles, you're basically then scanning partials. And there are some nuances about non-final candles or partial candles. So one of them is how often do we want to scan? And I think a lot of strats are 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So that means that every 30 seconds, or in my case every 20 seconds, the bot is effectively looking at the TA, it's looking at the candle, it's looking at all the data it's got, and it's going to make a buy or sell decision based on your TA every 20 seconds or so. This can have some very interesting results. So, and I'll give you an example. And that's not a good example, so let's go to daily candles. Maybe that's a better example. Just wait for that. Okay, so let me ask you a question. This yellow line is MA25. Is MA25 up, or has MA25 moved down? If you're only using full candles, then the answer is obvious. It's moved down because I would be looking, this candle would open, I'd be looking at this candle, and you know something, that's definitely gone down there. If I'm using partials and I'm scanning every, say, 30 seconds, the question isn't so cut and dried, because that might have gone up. Okay, what? It's going down. Yeah, but has it really? So I can try and show you this. So the MA value here is 7619. It just changed, didn't it? 7619.26. Okay. 0.15. 0.19. The bot will pick up on those changes. So actually, although the overriding MA is moving down, if you're using partials and it's scanned a value there that's higher than the previous value, the signal is MA's moved up. And you can see it better, I suppose, on a 1 minute candle, which I don't tend to go down here very often, it's very noisy. And you should be able to see this fluctuating. It's not going to do it for me now, is it? As the price moves, maybe MA25 is not a good example. Maybe we want to put something a bit shorter in there. Let's try, ooh, I don't know, let's try 5, what the hell. Now, so here you can see the yellow line moving up and down. So right now it's moved down. Let's move down again because the candle's ended. Hang on. Let's watch it. Price is going up. And there it's moved up. Now that move up is going to be echoed through every single candle because technically it has moved up. So be careful if you're using partials, because although you look at this and you read the charts on the 1 day, you think, oh, well, that's definitely going up on you now, obviously, because I've changed the duration. But be very careful because you might inadvertently buy when you didn't actually mean to. So that's one of the main differences between partials and full candles. The always scan final candles is basically a reset point, so it will always scan the final candles regardless of what your scan cooldown is. If you've got a scan cooldown of 20 or 30, then actually it doesn't make any difference because it's going to scan at the end of the candle anyway, so, the final candle piece, so that's fine. And then start with partial candles is if you're using only scan final candles, so you've got this set here. When you start the bot, it will do a kind of a partial scan of the candle and see where we are and make buying decisions based on that. Sometimes that's not good. Sometimes you might want to do that. It depends on your strategy, your TA, your approach. I've always got it set on, mainly because I'm quite happy with the way the TA works. This is a daily candle, so if I didn't have that set and I was using only scan finals, I would have to potentially wait up to 24 hours for the bot to make a buy decision. That is not necessarily, of course, a bad thing. Okay, if you've got any questions about those, either ask in the comments or on the 3K to 1M project page, and I'll pick up on them and try to explain that a little bit further. But basically, just remember that indicators moving up and indicators moving down on partial candles can fire because they moved up by a tiny amount. Maybe not visible on the exchange or on TradingView, but they have moved up or moved down. And I think some people have taken that as, oh, the bot isn't doing the indicators correctly. It is. It's just you're using partial candles. There is before we move on to order books really quickly, I just want to show you a setting somewhere. That's one of the new settings that have come in, which is all about this. So if we scroll down a little bit here, DMMA's got it. Oh yeah, it does. So if you're using partials and you want to say only buy when, I don't know, MA is moving up, you can actually use a moved by custom percentage rather than say moving up and moving down. You can say moved up by a certain percentage, and that will have the effect of nulling out, if you like, any small fractional changes upwards or downwards and make it a much better TA buy or sell decision potentially than just saying it's moved up or it's moved down. That is across all the moving average indicators in the bot and is only available in this version, I think, but hopefully we'll get that out as soon as possible as well. So you could say, in that case, if you wanted MA, MA on Binance is SMA on the bot. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So I could say, well, only do a buy signal if it's moved up by 1%. And then down here, there is a setting, oh, come on, that says, where is it? Oh, short moved up by customer %, short moved down by customer %, or long, whichever you want really. So that gives a lot more flexibility and a lot more control, rather than just saying the indicator's moved up or the indicator's moved down. Again, you could use that on full candles. Really useful though in partials, because you can then definitely say I don't want to buy if it just goes up by 0.000001 or something. Really useful. The last piece that I wanted to do today, and that's kind of covering all the main features that we've done and changes so far, is coin selection and why you should be very wary of what coins you actually select. I said this in my top 10 videos, coin selection is really, really important. And I did cover it briefly in a previous video, but I'll just use my favorite coin for this example, which is HOT. Oop, if I can type. Nope. HOT. Now, HOT is a particularly good example of a coin not to choose. And why? Because there are firstly, there are far more people selling than buying. The volume is pretty low at 24 Bitcoin. It is attractive though, because each one of these ticks is worth about 12%. But the problem is, you're never going to sell, because look, there's 118 Bitcoin waiting to buy at 5 and 69 waiting to sell at 6. So there's a queue, and you just get in this big old queue. And if you're trying to trade on the bot and you're trying to do scalping, and you put a limit order into here, you can wait for days. Now I've tried this. I chose 10 really low volume coins with low order books, and it took hours and hours and hours to get a sell or a buy. And it was easier to get the buy, but to get the sell took a long, long time. Now, if you use limit, you would have to do something on the bot which said, well, never expire the limit order. And there is a bot hack that still works on how to do that. And if you need that and you want to know how to do that, leave me a comment and I'll tell you how to do it. If you sold at market, this is where it gets really, really bad, because your bot might go, hey, this hot coin is just maybe 12% because it's moved up a tick. You sell it at market, you don't know where it's going to sell, and you will probably come out of that profit, that trade, with a 0%, minus your trading fees, of course, 0.2 or 0.15, and you will make a loss. I will guarantee you, if you trade at market on hot, you will make an overall loss. So choose your coins wisely. For example, maybe only trade coins that have a 24-hour volume of over 500 Bitcoin, or USD of over, I don't know, $500,000. I don't know. You need to make those decisions yourself, but please be very, very careful. Don't trade all coins, because you will get burnt on some of them, and there's no point. That's why you have to be careful there. Okay, and of course to set those, you set them up here. So for example, I'm not going to hide this. In Bitcoin, I trade 18 coins. Ethereum, Litecoin, Binance, Neo, Qtum, Quantum, 0x, again CIO to Link. And the volumes here are actually normally quite high, though I'm breaking my own rules there. So you can say, well, volume greater than 500, and then don't forget, blacklist the ones you don't want. Just please don't trade all of them, because it won't work. It won't work. Okay, back to strategies. So at the moment, this is paper, so it doesn't do limit orders anyway. Everything's sold at market, but there is no spread. So the price will be what it is. So there's no cues, if you like, to buy or sell that position. So it'll just say, even on hot will show you 12% on paper, because it's just going to give you the price. On live, that will sell at 0, or even worse, at -12. So don't take the results from paper to be absolutely spot on if you're not doing coin selection properly, because that will alter it. Now, my live and my paper, the coin selections are actually the same. And the spread, so I do a take profit at 0.5 on this strat. The live and the paper, the buys are in tune and also the sells are in tune. So I can reliably take away from that if I put this strategy on live, I will get the same profits that I'll get on paper. Because the coins are good coin selection, and the strat is working in my favour. So do you open a position on market? Do you open a position on limit? On live, I will always open on limit, and I will always sell on the take profit as limit, but closing position, generally I will do market. And the reason I do market is because generally that's the sell that's been triggered by the TA to say, dump the coin, it's losing value, and that is a just get the hell out of their measure. So generally I would say then, open a position in limit, and maybe 15 minutes for an expiration time, possibly. I want to talk about these in a second. Close position at market, and then when you're doing your take profits, if you're using that, I would change that to limit on live. And the idea with this strategy is really just to take 0.5%, like bang, 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 until it gets to the top. There are some new indicators here, so I'm using one of them, which is the after loss cooldown or after sell cooldown. But buying cooldown. So buying cooldown is going to say, after I bought a position, just chill for a little while. And I do tend to have that normally set to about 300. I'm doing another test here, I've just reset it to 0. The idea is that it will check every 5 minutes, see if it can buy a new position, checks the indicators, again using partial candles, so I have to be careful, and buy only if the uptrend from its perspective is continuing. And the idea there is not to get any bags, or at least get small bags if the price suddenly drops. But if the price drops, obviously the TA will kick in and it will do a closer position. After loss cooldown is really important for me, because that means we've made a loss on a coin, so the market's now downtrending and it will go to sleep at the moment for 1,200 seconds. At that point it will retest. The fact that this one is using daily candles kind of means if it's going down, it's going down. But again, the partial candle warning, that indicators that I'm using, move up, move down, whatever, could in theory go back up, even though overall they're heading massively down. So be careful. After sell cooldown is a generic one that I asked the guys to put in. So basically, any sell, positive or negative, it will still go into a cooldown mode and sit there and not buy that pair again for a little while. Basically, it's a combination, I suppose, of buying and after loss. Not buying, so of the after loss, but adding in positive sells as well. And then close after minutes. I do like this one. Close after minutes is down here. So you can say, if you're brave, and this is good in scalping actually, when you think about it. So if you've got an upward trend and you're scalping, how long do you keep a position open for? Well, let's have a look. So I bought this one at 16.31. I sold it at 17.01. I bought this one at 16.40, 17.01. 16.23, so that was 30 seconds. So there's about half an hour there, maybe. So you could fathom that if you have a position that's open for longer than 30 minutes, then you might as well just dump it. Because if it hasn't sold for 0.5%, it's not likely to. You could say 15 minutes, you could say 5 minutes, entirely up to you. But you can get the bot to close that position for you after so many minutes. I've tried that on different timelines under testing. With varying results. I wouldn't recommend using it though at the moment, unless your market's in like vertical climb or something, but then you would need it because your TA is going to sell out, or your take profit is going to sell out. Closing position, again, this is a dump position because one of my TAs over here will actually, I'm not going to show that one because I'm not using it anyway, but it will say dump the position, I'll dump it at market, and we'll just get the hell out. I do, in an uptrend, this is okay, so you can say don't sell if it's negative, for example. But the whole point of this, for me, closing the position, is that basically the coin's in decline, so just get rid of it as soon as possible. And I'm not going to do the rest down here because that's all shorting, and we don't do that. They say this is when the users take profit. It would be a limit. There's a interesting discussion about trailing stop loss and limit versus market, because at that point you could argue the coin is losing value because it's reached, say, 0.8, it's dropped by 0.1. Is it going to go back up again to allow a limit to actually be fulfilled at the current price? Maybe, but I'm not using TSL anyway. And I'm not using a stop loss either. So that's kind of the main functions of the strategy. Now, what's really, really important, all these indicators over here are brilliant, but you have to get this piece right. You have to get your scan times. You have to get your starts with partials. Are you always going to do finals, or are you going to do partials? Your delay times. Look at the market. Have a look at what's going on, because if you don't get the first panel right, you don't get your scan times right, you don't get your candle selection right, your TA ain't going to work. And I think that's where a lot of people can go horribly wrong very, very quickly. Really important, so important to get that right. So at the moment, look at this, 18.52% up on the day. It's going to hit its, it's exceeded the resistance, possibly. So I won't be surprised to see that fall back down. Hopefully not. I'd like it back up here somewhere. That'd be really, really good. That's me done for this video generally. If you enjoyed it, give me a like. If you'd like to see more content like this, let me know. There is a list on the 3K to 1M page which shows what we're going to be doing. It's about 10 shows, I think. I've lost a bit of paper now in front of me, but there are 10 shows, and we want to go basically and take the Binance MA, or TA, sorry, that is on the Binance app, and see if we can build a strategy into the bot based on that TA. So we're not breaking any sort of confidences. We're just saying, look, this is what Binance gives you as a default. Can we build a strategy on that? That'd be really useful. And while I've been talking to you, it hasn't bought a damn thing, which is a little bit worrying. But that must mean that overall the indicators are not showing uptrend, and it's not going to buy. But again, this is quite a good strat. I like this strat. 264 buys, 2.73%, 5% profit. This is guaranteed to work live for the same values, which is the really good thing about it. So I know that this would work like this on live. If I only had some dollars left on live, that would be really useful. Okay, I'm going to end it there. If you enjoy the channel and I've earned your subscription today, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Otherwise, if you've got any questions, either post them in the comments or post them on the 3K to 1M, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.